Good afternoon. Welcome to Western Power Distribution's Energy Data Hub webinar. Today is going to be a chance for us to explain some of the things we're doing in terms of sharing data, sharing information out to local authorities, local enterprise partnerships, and other interested stakeholders. Specifically today, we're going to try and focus on mapping, but we'll also give a good overview about some of the other things we're doing, particularly on the Energy Data Hub portal that we've created on our website. Before the webinar kicks in, I'll just give everyone a little while to make sure that all the audio is working correctly and that there are no particular IT issues, so we're trying to kick off straight on the nose. But if we give everyone a little bit of time to get settled into the webinar, make sure that they're able to hear us correctly and all the audio is coming through correctly, and then we're kickstart. So I'll just give you a few moments to compose yourself, and then we'll be back with you just shortly. Excellent. Okay, well, trying not to keep you waiting for too long. We get right stuck into the information today that we're going to provide. So my name's Ben Godfrey. I'm the Network Strategy Manager for Western Power Distribution. Today is one of a series of webinars that we're hosting on the Energy Data Hub. This is a collection of resources that we've pulled together to be able to start more actively providing the information that we collect and retain as part of our operations as a distribution network operator. And we're trying to give greater access and transparency to some of that data. So we've pulled all that together into the Energy Data Hub, and this webinar is one of the series of webinars that we're doing to try and explain some of that information, present it, and seek further feedback on that type of thing. We're happy to take questions throughout the time through the webinar, so if there's any particular queries or questions you want to raise, there is the ability to raise them within this the GoToWebinar platform. So there's a question box that you can type in, and that will send through the queries through to us, and we'll be able to go through and answer those as and when. There's also a period at the end of the webinar today for some Q&A, so if you don't feel comfortable in asking your questions straight away, by all means take a note of them and ask them at the end. So there's no voice feedback on today's webinar. It's purely answering questions through the text box on the platform itself. So with me today is Sharon. Perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharon McGuffey. I'm a Flexible Power Commercial Officer, and I'll be talking to you about the Energy Data Hub. Excellent.
So Sharon's pulled together all the information that we collate together in the business and created the Energy Data Hub, and she'll be able to go through that information over the course of the next few slides as well. So what we will be doing is making these webinar recordings available after close of today's session. So if any of your colleagues have missed this, or you think it'll be useful for anyone else to be able to also hear the wonderful presentation that we've given, then you can be able to download that and I think play it off of YouTube as well. So that will be available probably in the next week following this particular webinar. So give us a few days to go and get it up online. So on to data sharing. So we think data sharing is really important. It's one of the key aspects that we as a DNO can facilitate across the energy system. So we hold a significant amount of data within our operations, and whilst we use this data to make informed decisions about what we're going to be doing in terms of network investment, planning, and other distribution network operator functions. We recognise that there is other external parties who would also benefit from that. So whether that is, knowing how much capacity there might be left remaining on the network, or how many electric vehicles we're expecting in a particular area, these are all types of things that we are collating and using internally as information sources, and we think that it's right that information is flowed outside our organisation and can try and benefit others. We hope that by doing so, then this will help reduce costs for energy system transition, and also help facilitate some of the aspects of moving towards a decarbonised system. Whether that is purely with those the benefits are going to be realised by those people who operate actively in the energy system at the moment, or whether it's just tangential third parties that will be able to use that information to help inform their business and help make that transition happen. This is also recognised under the Energy Data Task Force. So that was a group set up by Ofgem towards the end of last year, and helps us understand exactly, has helped investigate how some of the power of that data can be used by other parties, and where it can be used by to be able to bring forward some of the energy system transition changes. The task force has recommended that in order to maximise the benefits when we start progressing towards better energy system changes, then all the data should be presumed open, and people should have access to it. And then any benefits that we or the main incumbents are accessing due to the digitalization of the system, then that digital data should also be made available and as widely as possible, so that others can draw benefit from it. And again, so that's something that we really believe in, but bearing in mind that we're starting from a fairly early transition into trying to find other stakeholders which will benefit from that particular information. Then what we're trying to do now is consolidate all the information that we hold in a decent format already within our company, and starting to make the visibility of that data a bit greater, and trying to make sure that we're presenting that information in the best format. So what we've done is created the Energy Data Hub to be able to hold all that information, and what we'd like to try and do in this series of webinars is seek feedback on whether we're focusing on the right areas, whether the information that we're currently providing is up to scratch, or whether there's some small twists or augmentations of that data that we could make that might be able to help others use that data better. So we're really all ears as it is at the moment, but what we thought would be best to do is, following the recommendations of the Energy Data Task Force that came out a few months ago, we really want to try and push that information out as soon as possible, get as much data that we currently held out in the public domain, and that will start driving some of the early discussions we can have with people about whether it's the right thing, whether we need to change the format of it, and how we can help progress that energy system transition. So Sharon's now going to go through a little bit more detail about the Energy Data Hub and the information that's contained. And by all means, if you've got any questions, pop them up and we'll be able to answer them as we go through. Over to you then, Sharon.
Thank you. WPD already shares data with the industry, the regulator and the consumer. With the creation of the Energy Data Hub, WPD has encompassed shared data in one location. The aims of the Energy Data Hub are to unlock value of data within the energy system, drive innovation in new products, services and businesses, and produce more efficient, cost-effective systems that work for consumers and realise the benefits of clean energy. The Energy Data Hub acts as a repository for all of the data that we share with stakeholders, and there are 4 key areas where data information can be found: systems and network data, costs and charging, low carbon technologies, and strategic information. Firstly, systems and network data. This is where WPD shares information and data related to our network assets and system operation. With so many different mapping systems shared, it made sense to create a mapping hub, which encompasses all of our shared mapping information in one place. Within the mapping hub, on the website, you'll find live power cuts mapping, network capacity mapping, network flexibility maps, electric high voltage constraint maps, and investment maps, along with other mapping facilities. Signposting information will direct flexibility providers to different distribution needs. Statement of works. This is a request to National Grid Electric regarding the impact of a connection of embedded generation connection on their system. Data Portal 2. This is an online service where stakeholders have access to WPD asset data and EMU. Alternative connections. Where the network has reached its capacity, customer can be offered an alternative connection whilst reinforcement is installed. Generation Capacity Register. This is a list of generators connected to WPD network. Generation Outage Report. Here is a summary of lost generation due to constraints in 2018 in megawatts. Secondly, cost and charging data. This is a sharing of data relating to connection and use of system charges. Here you will find connection charging statements. These statements cover terms and conditions relating to new connections, alterations, including generation. Use of system charges. Here you will find data and information for electric suppliers, major users with regards to the use of our systems, metering, etc. Facilitating share of information for potential generation connection consortium. A bit of a mouthful, but here you will find information regarding the potential sharing of connection charges in an area as a consortium rather than as an individual, sharing the cost of reinforcement or connection charges. Interactive cost tools. These are tools which are available to help you budget for the cost of obtaining electricity connections for your development. Thirdly, low carbon technologies data. The amount of low carbon technology connected to our network is growing. This section on the Energy Data Hub contains more information on how we're enabling this, sharing data on our electric vehicle strategy, ensuring that drivers of electric vehicles are able to charge their vehicles in a convenient way. Electric Vehicle Connection Guide. Here you will find information regarding the quickest, most efficient and economical way of connecting charging points to electric vehicles. Carbon Tracer. This is a project that is delivered on an app that uses real live data to calculate what actually contributes to the locally generated energy that powers electric items in your home. Fourthly, strategic investment data. Here stakeholders can find out what we are doing to build a smarter system and how we are investing to meet the future needs of our customers. Sharing data on distribution future energy scenarios. Here you will find reports that outline the growth of the distribution system. Distribution System Operator, DSO, mapping out the transition from a distribution network operator to a distribution system operator. Long-term development. Here you will find data that has been compiled to assist current and future users of the WPD network to identify and assess opportunities available to you for making new or additional use of our distribution system. Flexible power. This is where you will find data and information which we share with stakeholders, creating partnerships that generate income for local businesses and can enable us to accommodate increasing demand for electricity without having to build a large network. Flexible power is the subject of our next webinar in January 2020. Thank you, Ben.
Excellent. Thanks, Sharon. So Sharon said our next webinar is on flexible power. That is the kind of customer-facing brand for how we are engaging with people to participate in some of the demand-side flexibility services. So these are revenue-generating services where we'll be paying people to shift their consumption patterns to more equitably match the loadings that we have on our network, and that is a real area of excitement within distribution network operators. So hopefully, if you've got some generation fleet or flexibility fleet within your operations, then please do join into that next webinar to be able to understand how you might be able to participate in those future services. But as it is, this session here is specifically looking at mapping, and I'll be able to go through some of the aspects of what we do within our mapping centre and our mapping programs to be able to provide that information out to the various different stakeholders. Just going back to one of the points we made earlier, we do produce a lot of data across our business, and I think one of the things that we struggle with is finding the right thing to call this particular data sets. So we, on the Energy Data Hub, we've named all these and split them into different categories, and each of the different reports has a particular name. Everyone within our business is familiar about that particular report and the information contained within that report, but it isn't necessarily the most straightforward naming convention for those external to either the industry or to the company. So if you've got any feedback on these particular reports, if you think they might need a more friendly name or would be useful for other people doing similar activities to yourselves, but you know that they're not aware of that, then by all means feed that back to us, and we can start either targeting the reports to particular stakeholders and groups of people, or we can change our way to how we pass that information across. Okay, so in terms of mapping then, one of the key bits of feedback that we had in our incentive on one of our engagement activities was that people wanted a greater granularity in our existing data portal, which was our online mapping system. So we took that back, and from our original data portal, we've now migrated that onto Data Portal 2, which is a kind of second version of that particular functionality. And it's hopefully, if you've been part of the groups that are fed into that process, then you'll recognise some of the enhancements that we've made on that. So what I want to try and get across today is an overview of the current systems and functionality, a little bit of an overview about what we're working on at the moment, and some of the future requirements. And the information I'm going to go through will be familiar for those people who already have Data Portal 2 access, but for those of you who don't, hopefully it'll be a good opportunity for you to have a look at what we're doing and see whether there's any be use for that data or information within your existing organisations. So there are two principal systems that we have in place within WPD. One is the line search for you dig platform, and the other one is this Data Portal 2. So the top image is this line search for you dig platform. You can go online and access this directly with a short sort of set of registration, and this enables anyone to be able to look at particular plans and understand the assets that WPD has within that particular area. The image at the bottom of the screen, bottom left, is Data Portal 2. This is an internally hosted online application specifically designed for planning inquiries. Over the next couple of slides, I'll go into a bit more information about what the difference between these two systems and what they really entail. So line search for you dig, or LSBUD, as it's commonly known as, then this is our platform for dig and lay inquiries. For those people that are looking to excavate within the roadway or in a particular area of land, they're able to go onto the system. They can go and extract utility diagrams for where the cables are buried, what types of assets are there within the local area. This has been in service now for about 10 years, and within the WPD area, per month we get about 70,000 inquiries for mapping assets coming through to us. So quite a lot of high utilisation of this particular service, really valuable for those people that are digging in the ground. But we really see that this is being focused for those people that are carrying out that digging activity. So on the Line Search Before You Dig, it's an online inquiry service which is available 24/7, 365. So a very important service to be used at any time. It allows us to distribute current data. That is a real key requirement, because when we're telling people, providing them information about what the assets there are in the ground, it's not very good to rely on paper copies of that. Having an online system that is up to date and accessible 24/7 enables us to distribute as-is data, and that means that it's as safe as possible, so when people are carrying out that excavation activity, they know exactly what's there. When an inquiry is submitted onto this system, then an instant response confirms whether that dig site falls within our area or an adjacent company area, and so it immediately makes sure that the right company is being flagged up to deal with that particular inquiry. And it also enables multiple companies to provide details within that asset location, so it can link up all the gas, all the water, all the telecoms, and all the electric all together. So it provides that kind of one-stop shop for this type of information. It's a fee service, but it's free for all, everyone apart from the commercial resellers, such as solicitors or conveyancers. So we invest and pay for a lot of money for this particular service. We make sure that it's free for use for those people who are not getting commercial benefit from it. From those people that are getting commercial benefit from it, then there is a small fee to pay for those particular services. So all requests that go through to Line Search Before You Dig is done through the online portal, and then any of the asset plans are emailed through to a request. So within this particular sort of initial response from that platform, they receive a response in two parts. First part of the response provides an overview of the number of members who have got assets within that particular excavation area. In this particular example on the screen, you can see that the WPD has been flagged as the asset owner in red, and then it also provides a list of non-affected members in green as well. And finally, in the blue section, is contact details for anyone else who might operate within the area. Those are the people that aren't on, that may have assets within that area, but aren't on the Line Search Before You Dig members. So the second response you get after submission is comes back via email, and it will come directly from the member. So in this case, WPD. And so we would provide detailed plans and geographic information about what the assets are. We give you some further guidance about how to avoid danger, and any emergency information as well about who to contact should anything happen in that particular area to those assets. So the other core system that WPD provides access to is this data portal too. Again, this is the WPD only hosted system, and it's developed in-house by us, but you can access it remotely through the internet. And this was specifically designed to give third parties access to all our data for planning purposes. Anything that can be handled through the line search before you dig is preferably handled through that system, because it scales up and it's got a lot sort of greater capacity for dealing with multiple inquiries, whereas anything that's more detailed will come through to Data Portal 2. This service here is free to use as well. It's 24/7 user access, and it gives you instant access to WPD data once registration has been confirmed. We refresh this data every night, so it really is very, very accurate and up to date. And it also provides facilities to download linear asset data for the HV and EHV voltages. As we begin to digitize more of the LV, then I expect some of the linear asset data will be provided, but at the moment it's specifically just for HV and EHV. So this screen here shows the online mapping portal. You can find this through our Energy Data Hub, or I'm sure if you use your preferred search engine and have a look at WPD Data Portal 2, it will direct you to that particular page. So this is the main page, and you can either launch the viewer, or you can select an area in the map to download, or have a look at some pre-compiled data sets that we provide users access to. So over the next few slides, then I'm going to show a little bit more information about how those systems work and how you can interrogate those. Hopefully, the ability for you to online browse or download data and view it by a specific area, or look at the pre-compiled data sets, gives a wide range of ways to access that data that is convenient for your particular source. So the online mapping system, when you have access to it and log on to open the online viewer, this is the type of page that you'll get access to. So you can see here, it gives you the ability to view and interrogate mapping data across the whole of our area at all voltages. You can see that this, you can either view it by scrolling in and zooming in, or you can try and search for a particular either OS grid reference or northing and easting. But it gives good functionality to be able to view that information. And if we just dive down into a bit of detail, you can see the left-hand image shows the network trace function that allows a user to trace the electrical connectivity for an HV or an EHV circuit. So you can look at a particular circuit and you can trace that all the way through, and it will show which area would be affected by that particular asset. That's useful if you're trying to conduct a bit of switching on the network, or looking for how which elements will be upstream or downstream of particular networks. And then the second image in the right-hand side allows users to retrieve feature information about linear assets, such as overhead lines and cables. So you can select a particular cable there, and you can see the voltage. You can see whether it's decommissioned or energized. You can see what the particular other attributes there might be towards that, and the kind of length of that linear asset as well. So lots of information there available for people to use. And then if we look at a number of options about how we can download the data sets. So firstly, you can select an area that's depicted by this yellow box. So you can select an area, and then you can download the data sets within that particular data. So you can either do this by selecting areas by 1 kilometre square tiles, as shown in that left-hand image, or you can manually draw it, as seen in the right-hand image there, and download the data in the requested format. Thirdly, we also are able to do pre-compiled data sets. So depending on your need, then you can look at the say the full WFED area, so all 4 license areas, and you can download that data set in Adobe PDF format, and that's all the CAD data for all those particular data sets. That's all bolted together. Or you can look at it in AutoCAD format, Bentley MicroStation DGN, Google Earth, which I think is a KML file, and S3 shape format. So hopefully that those pre-compiled data sets will enable you to get access to this kind of information in as granular detail as possible, and to your preferred format as well. We can also provide some of the information in Excel format, such as asset location spreadsheets for substations, but that kind of information isn't necessarily provided within Data Portal 2, but you can there are ways to escalate that, so we can provide that information to you. So that's the kind of information that we're able to provide straight off the bat if you were to register now. There's a few things that we're doing behind the scenes as well, which all form part of WFED's digitization, and hopefully that will give you a little bit, I'll be able to go through in a little bit more detail about what we're doing. So on screen here we have Electric Office, which is something that we're just moving towards, and this is a full graphical representation and accompanying database behind the scenes to be able to link the asset data to our geographic records. And we're doing this for all the voltages across our network, and it's a major undertaking that we're currently rolling out at the moment. We're in the latter stages of rolling this out. So beginning of well, hopefully by the end of next quarter, end of quarter 1 2020, we'll have completely rolled out this new form of mapping within our business, and that will help us be able to extend some of this visibility of these platforms down to the low voltage rather than just the EHV and HV as we do at the moment. But this transformation to a more digitized system of recording our assets will help us provide data and information about our asset details much more quickly and much easier for us, and it will also be able to extend that down to the LV, as we say. So you'd be glad to know that this has been going on now for I think over a year, this kind of data transition. We really are on the final few steps of getting that rolled out across the business. So hopefully in the next couple of months that should be completed, and we'll be able to provide a lot more detail about our assets. So finally, hopefully that's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour about how we're starting to provide, or how we are providing, greater granularity through our Data Portal 2 functionality and the data mapping, and how we're starting to provide a bit more detail about the low voltage network within that digitalization type of activity. If there are any other queries that you've got about our data, so if you wanted to have a look at a particular substation or a particular area and you wanted to locate the assets, that wasn't functionality that is available within Data Portal 2, or if you want access to Data Portal 2 or you want a bit of a further guide from that, you can get in touch with our mapping manager, Dave Burnford. He be able to deal with any sort of inquiries, or again, if you wanted any sort of further information, then us within Network Strategy are happy to respond to some queries as well. So that's the extent of the information that we provide within mapping. Hopefully that's been useful for you to be able to understand what systems that we've got. The benefit of these systems is that they are live, they're up to date, and they're accessible 24/7. So if you want to go and get access to those systems, then you can find out exactly what information on linear and substation assets WPD has, and hopefully that should be quite easy to go and do so. So in terms of future webinars, again, we're trying to go and get more information out to all of you about what we're trying to do and how you might be able to use this. The next one is on flexible power and flexibility on the 10th of January. You can register for this already if you go on the WPD website and look for the LEP LGA network development page. If you have any problems with accessing that, get back in touch with us, but you should be able to find the link in the Energy Data Hub. And then the fourth and final webinar that we'll be doing is on the interactive cost tools and strategic investment. So if you want to know about how you might be able to use one of our cost tools that tells you how much a new connection might be in a particular area, or how much some of our reinforcement costs might be, then please register for the webinar that we're doing towards the end of February, and we can provide a bit more detail from that. So finally, there's just a section on Q&A. So if there's any sort of further questions that you've got through what you want us to sort of discuss with us, then we're happy to do so on there. We've had a couple of questions that have already come through, so give us a chance to explain and answer some of those questions. But do feel free to throw some more questions our way if you want. So we've got a question here on mapping and how regularly we update the data for our mapping. Hopefully, I think we did answer this one within the webinar. It might have been asked a little bit earlier, but the maps are updated overnight. So obviously during the day, our mapping centre is busy updating the maps as and when we lay new assets or change the way that our network's reconfigured, and then that is captured and recorded by a mapping centre team who update that information every evening. So they should only be 24 hours out of date as a maximum for that particular mapping assets. We've got another question here on what sort of other data sets that we might be looking to provide information for in the future. So we have got some future data sets that we think we might want to release. So one of those things is the shape files for all of our electricity supply areas. So these are kind of mapping tiles that we use to be able to geographically relate a particular area to our network assets and our demand generation and storage behaviour in those areas. Hopefully in the next few months we'll be able to bring all that information online into a new repository, and as and when we produce that information, we'll provide that and update our Energy Data Hub with a link towards that new mapping facility. We've also just recently launched our EV capacity map. The link to that is available on the Energy Data Hub already. That provides information on every single one of our distribution transformers. So we have about 160,000 of those across the whole of our network, and every single one of those we have mapped how much capacity there might be available for electric vehicles. So you'll be able to type in your own postcode, go to your particular location, see where the nearest distribution transformer to your property or your proposed electric vehicle charging hub or car park or whatever you're looking to secure capacity for, and then you can see how much capacity there might be available. There are 3 different categories, either where there is lots of capacity available, where there shouldn't be any issues at all with the future needs for electric vehicles, or where there might be some elements, some additional capacity, but if we start getting lots of inquiries in that particular area, we might need to look to manage that charging. Or the 3rd category is that there is some limited additional capacity, but it's most likely that capacity is going to have to be managed, and we'll be looking to time shift electric vehicle capacity through pricing and other mechanisms that we'll be doing through time of use tariffs through your supplier. So those are the categorizations that we've got for the electric vehicle capacity map. That's received quite a lot of good reviews, so we're quite glad to have released that information, but hopefully that should be one of a number of different types of information that we can provide to our stakeholders. I think it's fair to say that across any of the elements of data that we've released at the moment, we'll really be looking to you as stakeholders to be able to help us in terms of the exploitation of that data. So if there was any sort of additional either commercial purposes that you think you might be able to use that data for, or some other changes or augmentation of that data that you think would get some crucial information that you need, that you've got a gap with at the moment, then do let us know, and if there's anything that we can do to help facilitate some of those changes or make that information available to you, then we'll definitely do that. I think we definitely know that we have a bigger role to play in terms of providing that information. I think what we're just looking to go and get to grips with at the moment is who will benefit most from that information and which items we should prioritise first. So we're really looking for feedback in terms of that kind of information, so that we can say, yes, we already provide it, and here's the link on our Energy Data Hub, and that's perhaps it's just a different name to what we think the information you're requesting is, or if we don't currently provide and publish that information, then here it is on our roadmap. This is when we think we might be looking to provide that information, and we can give you a view on when we think that might be forthcoming. Got another question here on load data. What type of information we might have in terms of how much energy is consumed within our network area, and how much energy is generated within those network areas. Again, this is very much on our roadmap. At the moment, we've got our Carbon Tracer app that provides real-time information about how much energy is being consumed within our area and how much is being generated in each of those different areas. And that gives a real-time view and also a kind of predictive view out into the future. I think we'd like to move that forward towards being able to give a historical view, so that you as a local government authority or council boundary would be able to see how much energy you consume within your local borough. I'm aware that the Office for National Statistics does that on an annual basis at the moment, but we have all the data to be able to give that to a much more greater granularity. So, we could do it down to the day, down to the rolling month, or forecast that throughout the whole year. So I think that's something we definitely is in our roadmap to provide, but we'd really like to see how useful that information would be and whether that would benefit your own decarbonisation agenda. So please do get in touch if you'd like to be one of the pilot studies for that particular information, and we can provide that information to you and start working out what we think the best tools and toolkits are for be able to provide that information. Okay, I think that's it from questions. We're conscious of time, not wanting to drag too much out throughout the hour. I think we've got one additional question just in here now. Let me just see if I can get access to this. Okay, so the question here on GIS data. Is there any plan to release data as web feature services so it can be viewed and queried within our own GIS using your live data? So it's a good question. Yeah, we're definitely looking at the ability to release APIs to be able to interface into other systems. It's something we've done for other data sets that we've got available at the moment, and I think as we move towards that electric office, then that would definitely be something that we'd look to be able to provide greater visibility to interface into other systems. We haven't got any confirmed dates or timescales about when that will happen at the moment, but I think that is in our plan. So if I can answer yes, that is at the moment, but if I can follow that up, we're add all the Q&As that we've been received in, those that we've answered and those that we haven't answered, into some rolling questions, and upload that up onto the website for all to view. So if I can find any more information over the next week or so about what our roadmap is, I'll update you onto that Q&A as to when we're expecting timescales for that is. But at the moment, I think it's something we'd like to do, but we're just exploring options for how we might be able to do that. Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your time today. Thanks for attending that webinar. The links are already on our website to register for the other webinars, so please do that. Definitely encourage you to do that. And if you feel that any of your other colleagues will benefit from understanding and rewatching this webinar, then we're going to make this available on YouTube for all to view. So we'll send the link round, and some of the links to the Q&A session later on, once we've got that updated. So thanks for your time today, and I hope to see you in one of those webinars in the future. Thank you very much.